Hey there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to my live stream. My name is Jeff Fritz. Today is November 4th, 2018. And here in the States, we just did the time change. We just did daylight savings changeover. And boy, are my arms tired. No. It's all the jet lag without the fun of travel. Am I right? What you know what I mean? We're just backing things up, and now it's 10 instead of 11. Who knew? Hey, good morning, good afternoon, everybody there in the chat room. I see Rambling Geek, IT Goran, good to see you. Coated Beard, Moz is here. Hey, Moz, great to see you. My events slideshow just it didn't load right. I need to reset that. Let's see. Let me see if I can reset that real quick. See if I can. That's not the right button. Do something like that. Oh, now it looks really weird. Oh no. Is that better? It's all bent out of shape. It's all the wrong shape now. Hang on a tick. Hang on. I'm going to put that there. Watch this. This is how professionals do this. And let it be known, I am not a professional. Let me see. Where is it? I can do this. I can do this. No, I can't. Now it's upside down. How'd it get upside down? And backwards. Ugh. Right, I'm going to fit this in here. Behind the scenes with Jeff Fritz. Who knew? All right, so now if we do that, now it's still not the right size. What the heck? Oh, no. I'm such a failure. What the heck am I doing? Well, that's not right. So, like, all my settings changed all of a sudden. See, look, now it's all weird shaped. I think that works. I think that's better. Did that work better? Yeah, there we go. That's better. I don't know why things change like that. Just spontaneously, you know? So jet lag and clock change lag. Ugh. Changed clocks 2 nights after I got back from a whirlwind trip to the States. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a problem. Hey, Cyralash. Still 7 there. And GG Feds, hey, good morning, good morning. Hope nothing was really damaged due to weather or power outage. So Tagaron is actually coming back to what happened, why we didn't stream yesterday. Before I get too far into that.
That's a lovely red mug right there. Good morning, everyone.
Hey, good morning, Lannon. Yes, well, I'm using this mug right now. But of course, because you resubscribed, you'll get a red mug. Very cool, 3 months in a row. Right, it's a loyalty icon that appears next to you. So yesterday I didn't stream because there was a power outage in my neighborhood. Friday night we had damaging winds, high amount of rain, and it knocked down a tree in a neighbor's yard, and it took down the power lines. It affected about half the neighborhood, so about 30 houses. Literally, there were bigger problems for the power company to solve, so we didn't get our power restored until about 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Between 1 and 2 is when it came back. So, but I wasn't able to run a stream because it didn't have power. Speaking of red, you know what I'm going to play in red mugs? Thanks, Landon. You're going to help me choose. I'm going to play Red from Music to Code by. There we go. This is from our friend Carl Franklin. Carl wrote Music to Code by. It's a series of songs. It's a lot of music that'll get you in the groove, get you focused, so you can get done whatever task it is that you're working on faster. And he just released 3 new songs on musictoflowby.com. Let's run over to that website. We can show off Carl's work here. Was it nice to have no power? It wasn't too bad. It's kind of like when people go offline for a little bit. I need to watch a pro streamer only here for about 2 to 3 hours as I have to prep up for tonight. There is some prep in your streams. I think you're doing it wrong then. Just kidding. Let me scroll down here. So here's the new song, River, was just made available last night. But Judson and Bel Air, we've been listening to those a little bit here on stream. But if you want to actually buy, right, if you don't want to go through the subscription, if you want to actually buy the music, you can go to mtcb.pwop.com. And all 18 tracks now for $55 because there's more. Yes, cookies, blah, blah, blah. And, yep, 18 tracks, and it doesn't list them here now. Yeah. So you can download all of them for one price. 18 tracks at about 25 minutes a piece. That's a lot of music. So check it out, musictoflowby.com. We're really happy to have Carl's endorsement, I guess is the word I'm looking for, or support. That's even better. We're happy to have Carl's support to allow us to play Music to Flow By here on the channel. There it is. So, yeah, it was kind of like being unplugged for a little bit. Oh, I forgot to mention Stelzy. Thanks so much for the sub there with your Twitch Prime. Yep, Twitch Prime will get you... Twitch Prime comes from your Amazon Prime. If you have an Amazon Prime account, you can link it to your Twitch account free, and you'll get one channel subscription you can use anywhere here on Twitch. And if you do bring your subscription to me, we'll match that and make a donation to Girl. Develop it. Orion IT, thanks so much for the follow. Where's that Steve image? Didn't appear there. So today, I want to go back to where we were on Thursday, and we got really close to being done our first start project that we've been working on with CoreWiki. CoreWiki, as you remember, is a project we've been working on for a couple months now that allows you to build and run a wiki, a content management system. And we've been learning to build it using ASP.NET Core. We've been exploring other architectures, other data storage mechanisms, and we've been learning a lot and having a good time around it. And we've had some great submissions, some pull requests from viewers like you. No, not you, the one on the left. No, not them, the other person. Yeah, them. They've helped out. You can help out too. Send a pull request, come out here to C# Fritz CoreWiki on GitHub, and you can send a pull request if you see an issue that you'd like to help out with. If you have a question, you can always fire a question in here. Rambling Geek suggested we should check out the VirusTotal API. Because we allow file uploads, we should do some virus scanning here. And this might be a good idea to implement something like this so that as files are uploaded, we make sure that no viruses get into CoreWiki. It's probably a good idea. Hey, 3V, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. So, it's a great suggestion, and if somebody wants to help out with this, right, this is a good enhancement. I'm going to mark this as an enhancement. If somebody wants to help with it, go right ahead. You're welcome to work on that. Submit a pull request if you'd like. We've got some other things here that are some good fixes. I'd like to build some better tests around CoreWiki so that we get assurance that it builds and deploys properly. Matthew Groves over at Couchbase would like to be able to help us out and show us how to use Couchbase as a data repository. That might be fun. That might be interesting to do. So there's all kinds of things in here that if you'd like to help with, if you'd like to check out and submit a pull request, go for it. And we'll put your name up on the ticker that you see up at the top of the screen where we celebrate. We recognize those folks that have made great contributions to the projects we work on here on stream. All right. I forgot to mention I'm wearing my Overwatch hat today. Yesterday? Yeah. The Overwatch World Cup completed. So they got players from 32 different countries playing in a large World Cup format tournament, playing Overwatch, the video game, and last night was the consolation and the finals. The consolation was the UK versus Canada. The Canadians won that. The UK, I was really pulling for there. It would have been great to have seen them win, but alas, it wasn't meant to be. And the Canadians captured third place. The grand finals was South Korea versus China, and China was really the upstart in the tournament this year. They were they surprised a lot of people. They snuck up. They had some different strategies that really took the tournament by storm. But South Korea is the 2-time champions. They didn't even lose a map. They won 4-0. It was amazing. So congratulations to our friends in South Korea, and South Korea, China, and Canada for placing so well in the World Cup. Hey, Coding Monkey, thanks so much for using your Twitch Prime 4 months in a row. That's awesome. We'll make more donations to Girl Develop It. Thank you so much. Do we need to bump up that music just a smidge? I think that's good. All right. When is the .NET Core World Cup tournament? Oh, wouldn't that be neat? So I was talking to some folks. Let me know, chat room, what you think about this. Somebody was talking to me about Major League hacking. I haven't spent too much time looking at this yet, but this looks interesting to me. Professional hackers, not hackers, but coders, right? Competing, writing code. This looks interesting. So I need to do some more reading on this. Is this something that folks in the chat room have seen, have worked on, collaborated on? What do you think of it? What do you know about it? Excuse me, I got a little bit of phlegm. Oh, it feels ugly. Yeah, MLH, my college partnered with them in 2017 for a hackathon, got over 100 students to attend. Oh, that's very cool. Excuse me. Oh my gosh, I'm all gargly, post-nasal drippy today. Ugh. Ugh. I'm going to try and keep that out of here. By shifting from coffee to G Fuel. Yeah. So, and Stealth Hacker, Overwatch is the game you play most often nowadays. My aim is not what it once was. So, need to do something about that. Let's see, what do we got here? Okay. So let's take a look. I'm going to go back over to CoreWiki. And we've done some great things here. This, I think we're pretty well done. We can now select a database provider in our first start capabilities. So I'm going to close this because the feature's there. Can't get it into esports style games given my Transport Tycoon and Cities. Give me Transport Tycoon and Cities Skylines any day. Anything can get competitive, right? All right, so I just installed the latest update to the preview edition of Visual Studio 2017. This should put me on, I think it's 15.9 preview 4 or something like that. So let's take a look. Get into our project and let's pick up where we left off and see what we can do about making ASP.NET configuration work for us a little bit better. I've got a flag here. Azure Tools. I'm not using that today, so ignore that. Now, with ASP.NET Core configuration, we can write that configuration into a file and then have it refresh that content for us. And we were writing that content about the database provider and the connection string. We were writing that into this app settings app.json file, which feels kind of weird in retrospect to have this extra file out here that contains configuration instead of just writing it directly into app settings.json. City Skylines hasn't managed to avoid speedrunners either. Yeah. There are folks doing speedruns of all types of games. Do we have any news on a Visual Studio 2019 preview at all? There might be a Microsoft event or two coming up in the next month. It'd be kind of cool to see a preview of things like that at it. I'm just saying. All right, something's chewing up my processor and eating all my video here. What's going on? What do we got here? Take a quick peek. Yeah, where's my CPU going? Oh, thanks. Anti-malware. Way to go. I expect OBS to be taking that. That was interesting. I'm not sure what the anti-malware was just going nuts for. Yeah, look at that. And Firefox. Yes, Microsoft Connect in December is going to be really, really good. I will be there, of course. I'll be doing a broadcast. I'll be doing a live stream all day from it. And we should have some interesting things for you there. I think here is where we're going to want to update this. As soon as you open Task Manager, it's smoothed up. It's like when you saw it acting up and tried to hide. Yeah, I know. Right? Way to go there. Let's scoot this up a smidge. That's better. I get paranoid about the way my stream looks. What can I tell you? So we have this app settings JSON file right now. Let me close some of these other things that we don't need. And we also have app settings app JSON. Let me put this next to it. We have database provider and we have connection string. Well, right now, database provider is being written right here. Very cool, Rambling Geek. Thank you so much for that kind cheer. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to write it into one of these configuration files. I'm going to put it into that page that we were working on, if you don't mind. I'm going to write it into index.cshtml. And I'm going to drop some cheer graffiti. I'm going to write it at the top of this. So what I'm referring to from Rambling Geek there is, if you look down below me, not here on the video, but in the Twitch panels, we have a program that we started called Bits for Bytes. If you cheer over 100 bits, I'll drop, just like I'm about to do now, I'll drop a little bit of cheer graffiti into our code to indicate that you're supporting the code that we're writing right now. So I'm going to write here, Rambling Geek cheered 500 bits on November, what did I say today was? What day is today? The 4th. To indicate that you supported the construction of what we're working on right here. And you can see over there on the, at the top of the chat room, there's a tote board. There's a top 6, top 10 list of folks that have cheered. Whoever finishes at the top of that list, at the end of the month, we'll do a pair programming stream together. Finally, of course, we'll match and make a donation to Girl Develop It. Hey, Janescu, good to see you. Yeah, so lots of benefits by cheering here on the stream. And easy to do. So, all right, so this is where we're going to be working. as we clean up a little bit between these two bits of app settings, because this index writes out the settings that you chose for your database provider and your connection string. Well, right now in app settings, it's actually putting the data provider here, and the connection string is being written right here for our application data. We still have to figure out what we're going to do with our user data. So I need to take a look at that, figure it out. I'm not quite sure. 3V says, I wish Firefox had a task manager of its own like Chrome does. It doesn't it? You're right, it doesn't. Does it have an extension for that? Nope, it doesn't. And nobody wrote one either. But Firefox is starting to leak memory like a sieve. Just like Chrome does. I mean, I think it's a little bit crazy when your browser uses as much memory as your integrated development environment and more memory than your video production application. You can dig up a lot of the same info by scouring some about pages. You're probably right. There probably are a couple of about pages in there we could dig through. But this is kind of crazy that Firefox is using more memory than Visual Studio. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages open here. I've got 2 open inside of Firefox. And it's using 6 processes. Who knew? Yeah, that's weird. So, coming back to our configuration, I'm not going to think about that. 2 gig of RAM. So, honestly, I don't watch Twitch inside a browser anymore because the video player from Twitch just chews up so much memory. Does it need an update? You know what? It'd be nice if Firefox told you, hey, I've got an update pending, but I don't see any kind of an indicator there. For our configuration, I want to stay focused on this now for a little bit. Instead of writing this into an extra file and having to manage an extra file, I think what we should do is actually write into these connection settings here inside of our configuration so that we don't end up with extra files running around. We don't end up with all these things, right? We don't end up managing a whole lot more configuration than we really need to. So the first change that I want to make to simplify our configuration is let's get rid of this app settings app.json. And let's write into here, which means that we're going to need to start using data provider and the CoreWiki data connection string appropriately. It also means that because this file already exists, I can't use... I'm going to have to... I can read all text. Yeah, I can navigate down, find these objects, and set them appropriately then. So that's not too bad. It's outrageous that browsers use so much memory. I may switch over to Safari to see if it is more stable. Good luck. I don't know. Let's close some more of these here. Get away. I might need startup. So one of the things we did to kind of force... right, we added... Where was it? Yep, user app configuration. Right, which gave us that options snapshot that we were able to tinker with over here. Let me turn off some of these breakpoints. We're done with that task. But we were able to receive, right, where was it? We grabbed an iOptions snapshot so that we could inspect what was going on there. I don't see it anymore. Or did I put it on index? Nah, it wasn't that index. Details? Is that where I put it? Details? Yeah, I had put it in here so that we could see that it was refreshing. So what we can do, unused RAM is wasted RAM. Now you're thinking like an operating system developer. All right, let me go over to startup. So we're saying services configure database, and we're passing the configuration there. And when we configure the database, we're saying scope, seed data, blah, 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 blah. Services, add repositories, config. Right, I want to make sure that I'm using... Where's that at? Here it is. iConfiguration config. And we're getting connection strings to build things out, right? Now those connection strings are coming out of the connection strings object here. I want to make sure that that gets reloaded properly. Mac OS, which I am on a Mac ATM, Chrome is using 300 meg. That's not too bad. That's not bad at all. But how many tabs do you have open? Right? So I want to make sure that when I write that change, that our configuration is reloaded. So here's what I'm going to do. I want to take a look at this configure app configuration method, which is sitting in Microsoft ASP.NET Core hosting. Now, I want to take a look at how that's written. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to dig into the ASP.NET repository for it, which is actually sitting inside of the meta package, right? The meta package. It sounds so... Wait, hang on. I can do this better. Wait. It's not... It's an impressive package. It's the meta package. And lots of stuff happens in here. I'll go down into source. There is reload on change. Right. It's not on my... It's not available for me here on configure app. Right, so create default builder. I'm going to get rid of this here where it's adding JSON files because it's already doing this. It's the create default builder, right? Is there a reload on change on this? No. So create default, right? This is about to go away because I don't do app settings app. I'm going to get rid of that. Now how do I do reload on change? Does GitHub have a verify thing now? Yes, it does. GitHub does have a verify thing. See? Verified. It's a verification that this website and this organization owns. This website is owned by this organization and that they're connected in GitHub. I'm going to go... I was back over here. ASP.NET Core. Here's web hosts. Create default builder. Yep. I'm trying to find that method. There it is. So create default builder. Args. Okay. So it says builder use configuration. New config builder add command line build. If args does not equal null. Configure app configuration. Add JSON file. There it is. App settings JSON, and it does have reload on change. True. So to Rambling Geek's point, there is a feature called reload on change. And what this does is it actually monitors this file to see if there's a change. What I wanted to confirm is that the create default builder, while it doesn't take an argument that says, yes, I want to monitor and reload on change, by default, as we can see here in the source code, because it's open source, I can see that, yes, it does do the reload on change by default. I'm impressed how many things GitHub is pushing since the acquisition. I haven't used, but love the new feature that you can transfer issues between repositories. Amen, Lannon. Amen. That is a huge feature, because if you have an organization and somebody puts an issue in the wrong repository, you want to move it to the appropriate project. And to be able to do that now is nice. It reloads, but as we learned last time, only once per scope request. Exactly. That's a very good point, Pudata, is that you need to, right, you won't actually get the update until the next time you request the object. Very good point. So as I look at my code, right, so I'm going to clean that up by removing that reference because we're only using app settings JSON. When I redirect from my startup experience, here it is, from my startup experience after I write that database configuration to the regular homepage, it should load that new configuration for me. Yes, Microsoft now owns GitHub. Isn't there a non-debugging source link, asks L. Chef. I don't know. I haven't looked into it. Rickety Rocket, I heart Microsoft. Thank you. While Microsoft is my employer, and we are showing some Microsoft technologies here, I do want to make sure that you know that I'm not, on this channel, I'm not married to only showing Microsoft technologies. If you joined us last month, we spent a month working in Ubuntu. In May, we spent a month working on a Mac. So I want to show and help demonstrate that folks can be productive on any operating system, any hardware. I don't want to be exclusive to just Microsoft, but I do want to show and I do want to encourage developers to be productive everywhere. Yeah, 3V, the focus has been awesome. The open source world it isn't ending at all. It's very much continuing. But I've probably said it before here on stream, but I mean, there's a great quote from Leonard. I'm going to search down here. Leonard Nimoy. The more we share. Find it. Here it is. The miracle is this. The more we share, the more we have. And this is one of the motivating quotes that inspires me on this stream. And it's as Microsoft started doing more open source things that encouraged me and got me more interested in pursuing a position with Microsoft. The more we share, the more we have. And I think you've seen that here on stream, is that we share a lot. And we've learned and we've grown a bit. Hey, Jay Rosegard, good to see you. We are tuning our first start experience for CoreWiki. And we're changing things up. We're making it a little bit easier to work with. I'm going to go into our details. Is it details? Let's think this through. If I update the database configuration here in index, and I know how to write it into the right places, right? Instead of going to app settings app JSON, we're going to write into app settings JSON. We're going to load up the entire file, and we're going to write into our chosen configuration here. We're going to write into data provider, which is right off the root. That's fine. Come on. We're going to write it into there. And we're going to write our connection string into connection strings. And then I need to have it navigate down one. And in order for me to do that, is it exclamation point or is it dot? Or, oh, no, you know what it is? It's another object. Like that. Haha, that's what it is. And I want to write that into CoreWiki data. Let's do that. Now, this is also changing how I detect whether or not we have a connection string, whether or not we're able to run this. Hey, Robert Tables, yes, I did survive the storm. It's been, it was quite wet outside. I didn't have any damage around my house, but I think we did quite well. So, now I want to move through this. I want to have a hard stop at noon. I know I recognize a number of folks here are also regular viewers of our friend NoOpCat's stream. I want to make sure that we can stop in time to raid her, surprise her with a whole bunch of us joining all at the same time over there on her stream when she starts talking and doing some work with JavaScript and IoT and all the great topics that she works on. Not a hard stop. No, we're going to transfer and we're going to get into, right, we'll hand off to the next developer stream. And I'll be back on Tuesday. You're making fun of my accent. That's what you're doing there. I get it. So, since I'm changing how we're updating and indicating that there's a configuration here, it's not startup, it's in this startup extensions class, how we identify that we are actually set and we have a configuration that we need to apply. So is null or empty? It's not going to be configuration database provider. It's going to be configuration, where is it? Data provider. All right. And I think, so user app config actually changes just slightly from database provider to data provider. And actually, wait a sec. Wait a tick. I don't need to do this because it's coming from somewhere else. It's already going to be there for me. I can actually receive an iOptions snapshot. Binary Chef says, accent. I don't hear an accent, and I'm from Tennessee. And even, look at that, I even dropped in a little southern there. Little southern. It's okay to have a little southern accent. Everybody loves a little southern. She frequently raids other interesting streams also. Yes, we had a long raid chain that one Sunday. It was fantastic. If you're hanging out on Twitch, you want to learn a lot about different types of development, the raid chain is strong. It's a lot of fun to just go from one streamer to the next, to the next, to the next. And you'll learn a lot of different things all throughout the day. All right, so let's see. So this will load this just saves off the configuration. All right, so is first start incomplete is now going to check configuration data provider. Yes. And then come through. I think that's good. I think that will work and get me that information. So now I have it. I'm going to, when we save coming out of this, write it appropriately into our app settings JSON file here. I should make this default happen somewhere because I wrote that on the screen. Right when the post happens. Hey, MD then Lee. Do I have that right? MD then Lee. Thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate you joining us. So here, first start connection string. First config dot connection string. So let's do a quick check on that. Let's say first start config dot connection string equals string is null or empty. We'll check that. And if it is, you know what, I can, yeah, if it is null or empty, and if it is, we will make it what's currently that. Otherwise, we'll just reset it back to itself. Right? That way I've got a default setting there, and it should just work. iOptions snapshot can get you updated, reloaded config. With iOptions, you have one loaded at start. Yes, that's correct. Your Node.js dev, but when I do tests, I like to put the unit test right next to the thing I'm testing in the file system. Yeah. I like to, so because in .NET we compile up and we actually build DLLs, it is sitting right next to it here in a test project so that I have one place that it is, it'll compile and it sits next to it then when we compile and sit on disk. Wow. Pretty cool. Why ever use iOptions over snapshot? That's a great question, Jay Rosegard. When you run iOption snapshot, it runs a file system watcher and keeps an eye on changes for that file. So you might introduce some extra I/O that you don't want to incur. So if you're not expecting changes to the file on disk, just run iOptions. It loads it once, sticks it in memory, and is able to pull it from there. Coding Monkey. If you don't want to check requests for changes. Yes, there you go. There is some processing. Rickety Rocket asks, do I use Swagger or something similar for web APIs? I do like using Swagger for web APIs. I haven't used an API in this project yet where we use Swagger. But I think that needs to come very soon. I have some friends in the Angular community that I'd love to have us build an Angular front-end user interface to CoreWiki to show here's how to use Angular. And if we take what we have right now in Pages and make a nice API that goes with them, now we can put an Angular front-end onto it, and it'll help facilitate a mobile app front-end. Would it be cool to look at GraphQL? We can certainly implement a GraphQL API as well. And Xamarin front end. Oh yeah, I think a Xamarin front end is very much coming, probably in 2019. But I absolutely want to build a mobile user interface for this, so that you can connect to and have a wiki on your phone wherever it is you might be going. A Blazor front end would be great also, absolutely. By separating and building the architecture that we spent so much time on in August and September, we can facilitate these types of front-end user interfaces. Yes. No, Tiago. It's going to be a technology we'll explore for a couple weeks. Maybe in December, maybe later in November. We'll see. It's all about showing and exploring and trying out new things. And if folks like it, great. If they don't, well, now you know what not to like. React Native front end. Sure, we could do that. I have no insight into the Office products. Okay, so we've set a first start connection string if there isn't one submitted. That's fine. Which might not always work, right? If it is null or empty, we should probably, you know what? Let's change this just a little bit. Let's say if our first start config connection, if our connection string is null or empty, let's make the connection string that, and then force you into SQLite. Where was it? Database equals like that. That way you get the default configuration. Let's do a front end in classic ASP. Come on, Jay Rosegard. Come on. Can we make that a couple of days instead of a couple of weeks? Oh, Tiago. Really? Am I willing to accept a PR for an Aurelia front end? Sure. I think it would be fun to walk through it with somebody from Aurelia. I would like to get Ashley Grant or Rob Eisenberg to join us to talk through that. I think it would be fun to have them join us, talk through, do an intro to Aurelia, and then show how to implement a front end. I wouldn't turn down a pull request. Fable Elmish, sure. These are all technologies that would be fantastic to learn together. And because we've separated the front end user experience from how the application works, to build a different front end, I'm not opposed to adding another project here, CoreWiki.Fable, CoreWiki.Xamarin, CoreWiki.Aurelia, whatever. And to set that out there so that we learn. The goal with this project isn't isn't to build the next great Wikipedia. It's to learn different technologies together in a way that we have a simple application that we understand and we can adapt to whatever needs. So it could even spin into an Electron app. Absolutely. Right? Do a front end in Silverlight. Stealthy. That's just wrong. While you're at it, why don't we do VB6? I like VB6. How about some jQuery? Oh, sure. I think Jake might be upset about that. Link to core. I don't know about that one. All right. So we're going to be writing this out. When that happens, we need to make sure that our configured database, right, is receiving an I configuration of the config. Right, we need to reset how we configure the database, right? Where's it passing in the connection string? I thought we just saw the connection string somewhere. Where'd it go? Right? Scope, seed data, service provider, get service, blah, blah, blah. Oh, you know what? It was down in here. Add repositories. And this is where it's adding those. Switch data provider to lower variant. If it's Postgres, add entity framework, NPG SQL. Otherwise, entity framework SQL Lite. If there is no connection string, then this. That's fine. But I think we're going to want to change this so it says case SQL Lite and then do this one and then have a default do something else. No CoreWiki IPO. Well, I can be talked into that, binary chef. Front page version. Coding monkey. I don't think we're going to do that one. What kind of server is required for this wiki? Well, Robert Tables. You can actually run CoreWiki on Linux, on IIS, with Windows if you'd like. You can even put it into a Docker container if you'd like. So all kinds of choices there. Link to CoreWiki is how I intended that. Ooh, Gareth. That's interesting. That's very interesting. From which feature would you recommend to start with a new front end? Start with the simple, just the CRUD. Right? Start with the pages that are here for create, delete, details, edit. But we don't have an API just yet for it. However, you could bolt right onto the application and interact that way. But I would try to focus on those CRUD features first, the create, read, update, delete. Love how we've structured the project. Well, thank you, Robert Tables. We've had a lot of fun with this. And
wow.
Docker containers, right?
Wow.
They're a lot of fun.
Throw me a frickin' bone here.
Yeah. All right, Dr. Evil, we'll get back to this. So this looks like it'll load properly. My problem is I'm passing an I configuration into here, which should reload, right? On the second request. Lots of love for Docker. Yeah. And it'd be nice. Would it be nice to be able to do Kubernetes at some point so that you could spin up your database service and your application services in separate containers as part of that hive so you can deploy and get that up and running? What is my preferred audit logging tooling? I don't have a preference, GG Feds. Haven't really thought about that. A lot of folks are swearing right now by event storage so that they get audit logging built in. And we technically could do that with the way that we've structured the application. But I think it overcomplicates what we're doing here. Excited to see DigitalOcean get Kubernetes support in the near future. Yeah. I have no idea what you're talking about, but MD then Lee, thanks so much. So, and is that Tib TV? Is that Tibby? Tibby Kovatsi? I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, because I've seen it. I've chatted with you so much on Facebook. If it is who I think it is, Leet got a book. Who wrote? Is that Tibby? Nope, not you. Okay, different Tib. Well, thanks so much for joining us. Docker Swarm is much simpler to get started. Docker Swarm kind of lost to Kubernetes. It was a competing technology. Hey, leading lady. So MD then Lee. Let me tell you. Thank you so much for the compliment. I'm exploring some voiceover work, and some of my colleagues have said you should give us an audition reel, which might be cool to have a little bit of a influence as doing voiceover works for my employer. Nothing guaranteed there yet. The avalanche has started. It's too late for the pebbles to vote. You bought a book that I wrote, learning a computer language. So I did do a piece for NoOpCat on her channel. You know what? I have it here, actually. If you'll indulge me for just a second, I will share that real quick. Where'd it go? Here? Nope, that's not it. That's really not it. Because I did a bunch of voiceovers also for our friend Fierce Kittens. Where did I put it? I know I have it right here in my OneDrive because I shared it from there. While that's searching. You may hear it later on our stream today, yeah. So Tib, don't worry about it. Here's what I'm doing, and I think some of you have seen this, and I want to make sure that you're not intimidated or concerned that I'm kind of going off topic here too much. What I'm going to do, yeah, here it is. I found it. Let's do this. I'm going to mute the intro for a second, the music.
Previously on Noob.
Oh, it cut off. Fine. Just for that, I'm opening Audacity. So what I'm doing is, here we go.
Previously on NoobCat.
So I'm doing more and more of those for folks. And leading lady, you've heard me do some stuff for Fierce Kittens. What I'm going to do, there we go. Put the music back on. What I'm going to do to get folks who are interested in learning a little bit about development, but aren't familiar with some of the technologies and all this code goo that you see all over here, I'm going to start a series here in November where not Siri. Go away. Shoo. Phone. Where we're going to learn basic web development. We're going to talk about HTML. We're going to talk about CSS and basic JavaScript and how to deploy a website. Noobvember. That's a great idea, Robert Tables. Oh my gosh. I like it. Noobvember. Oh, brilliant. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have a couple of folks who you may have seen on other creative streams, other game streams here on Twitch, join us, and we're going to write their first websites together using Visual Studio Code, a little bit of basic HTML, no server-side technologies, no Node, no ASP.NET, no C#, and we're going to learn how to build a simple website together. So I've got folks like Fairy Wings, a friend of mine in the Hearthstone community. She's a champion Hearthstone player in the Philadelphia region. Steffi is going to join us. And I've also got Ellie Face. You may have seen Ellie Face hosted here. Shmuley knows Ellie Face. She's going to join us, and we're going to learn about CSS together. And it's going to be a really fun time. Noobvember may run over into December, but I think we'll have a great time. November. Yeah, you might be right. November might be a little bit better. So Ellie is awesome, and we will have a tremendous time. So I'm scheduling and putting that together. I should have a date sometime this week. When are the Visual Studio templates pushing Bootstrap 4? Are you referring to the older .NET Framework ASP.NET templates. I'm not sure when they're going to deploy that. It was on a schedule, but it's not quite there yet. Just update the package. Well, that doesn't quite get you there, but it will get you somewhat near there. So there you go. There's some updates. There's what's coming up. So leading lady and Tib, I hope that's something that you'll be interested in, and maybe you'll be able to follow along and learn how to write your first website with us. All right, so here's where I'm going to go. So we're now writing out our database source for where we're going to store the articles from our wiki. Let's make sure it's loading that properly, because I think I'm going to have to rerun this add repositories method. Blah blah blah. I think I'm going to have to rerun this add repositories method after I change the configuration of the database. You know what I mean? Because this is run once at startup here under this configured database method. So I feel like I'm going to need to redo this after the configuration is updated. Tip might be I do it for a living. Oh! I might as well be speaking Wookiee. All right, that's something. You call an extension inside of an extension. Sure. Why not? We're extending configuration. Why not? Mm-hmm. So, let's see here. This is in the configuration extensions class, because these are things that we're doing to update configuration, right? Configuration startup, right? And we're just so that we can call services dot do this thing. So, really, it's a static class just so we can extend these things and make it that fluent interface, fluent API that folks enjoy. Let's see here. So configure database, iConfiguration, add repositories. So yeah, I feel like I need to rerun this because that services add repositories. Right, so I almost need to clear these things out and rebuild it after you do your first configuration, you know? Extensions are some kind of compiler magic with static methods, so you can do a lot with it. Yeah, they are. It lets us write extension methods, as you see folks talking about there in the chat room. They allow us to attach a method to an existing object that doesn't necessarily have that object. So what kind of some of the apprehension that you see in the chat room is really around over here. Let me show you. Let me actually step outside this namespace. So if I have a namespace foo, and you create a public static class, something, it doesn't matter what you name the class, but you create these methods that you want to attach onto something else. So public static string, do something to string, and then you give it the name of the object you want to extend. And what you want to do to it. New stuff. Right, and I can say s dot, let's say s, return s plus new stuff. And now there's this do something to string that's available on string objects. So if I have another method here, and I can have string hello equals hello. I can actually say hello dot do something to string. Yeah, it wants me to fine. Right? So now I've done something unnatural to string, right, that it normally doesn't have. If this method wasn't here, right, this doesn't have this thing hanging on here. We've bolted it on. It's different from an overload because an overload is something that occurs inside that object. We're outside the object. We have no rights to modify the string object, but because you're working inside my project and you have access to my methods, I've extended it to add an additional feature. And some people look at that and they cringe a little bit because you're changing the behavior of somebody else's object. And you can add overloads to existing methods. Add them if you'd like, but you're outside of it. So is that adding a prop to the object? No, it's adding a method to it. So that's what we're doing. We're adding these methods to it. You can't really add properties to an object like that. So, all right. So I think I need to reconfigure this, need to rerun this to configure, which means that I'm also going to need to run configure database to get the seed data loaded as... What do we have in seed data, actually? Wait a tick. If I go over here, application DB context, seed data. Yeah. Well, it does the migrate, which will create the, right now, the default user. All the functionality of link is bolted on with extension methods. You're right. Yes. You could write a getter. The storage part is a little tough with extensions. Sure. They're not, I wouldn't say they're a lifesaver stealth hacker, but they're definitely a way to enhance an API without actually having access to the source code. All right. So I'm looking at this where I think we do need to rerun the configure database stuff. Right? Here. I think we do need to rerun this once we do have a provider. So this is being referenced once, this is being referenced once, and I bet you they're right next to each other. Configure database is here. And yeah, there's two of them. Wait, what? Who? So hang on. Where's this one used then? This one's being called from startup. This one's being called from startup on line 50. Okay, so the second one is actually loading and seeding the data. Would it make sense to introduce strategy pattern to get rid of that switch statement, which I guess could grow quickly when we add more providers? Jay Rosegard, I think that's a great idea. Let me show you, let me go back to that. It is hiding under here where we have this switch statement. Absolutely. We could do a strategy pattern to say, here's the providers that are available. Go find the appropriate one and call its configuration. I think you're absolutely right. That would be a valid change to make here. Don't need it just yet. I think I want to put a catch in both of these, not to do anything if I don't have a data provider configured. I think that's going to be the right way to go. So if config data provider, so let's go, if string is null or empty, config data provider, right? I just want to return services. Exit now if we don't have a data configuration. And I think we want to do the exact same thing here. But we need that config. I'll just call it like that so I get the same thing. So I need to go back to where this was being called and pass it the configuration. All right. So now I need to intercept and check. Once I'm done the configuration, I need to reload and then rerun the configured database and both configured databases. Hey, crows. Good to see you. We're doing great. What's the difference between calling in the startup and in the configure? What should we do where? Good question. In the configure services, this is configuring the things for our dependency injection container. When you first start the application, great place to do all the things. This is called once, and then this method configure is called, and it's passed in the information to actually configure our ASP.NET pipeline. We're configuring the database here with all the seeding stuff because we're not actually doing the same thing that's going on up here. We're not actually putting stuff into the dependency injection container, right? We're not creating cross-cutting references. We're doing this one-time configuration of things that the application needs. All right. So I need to call both of these once I'm done. Like adding singletons and scoped. Yeah. I think that's a good comparison. So once we're done writing that file to disk, right? We're done updating the file. We're going to redirect to the details page, which when we do that redirect, it should pick up the file change at that point. And I want to reconfigure the database. I want to reconfigure the database when that happens. So how do I reconfigure the database at that change? How are we going to do that? We could write some middleware to identify that change happened, and before we hand off, actually force that reload. Could do that. That's not impossible. What do you think, chat room? If I were to write some middleware so that before details starts triggering, we go and do the reload, configure database. Crows? Thank you. I'm going to deny that one. Just because I want to avoid swearing in the channel. But I very much appreciate the enthusiasm. Thank you. Yes, 800 followers away. Less than 800 followers away. Will I reuse it? The middleware? Good question. Well, wait a sec. Hang on. Wait a tick. We already are. Here. Use when is for start incomplete. I could do it here. Right? So I could add my check to reload right here. And call out and let that other bit happen. Right? Do that callback right here before use MVC happens. Right? So use when is for start incomplete, then it does the map. So when this flips, right? So first start is incomplete, always starts off as true. Right? It's hard-coded to start as true. It doesn't change to false unless this happens, right? Unless it finds, oh, well, there is actually configuration there. So true and false falls out of there, and then it flips it and returns false. When it does this flip, this is where I think we can inject our little bit of configuration that says, okay, go configure database. And I'm past the app and the configuration. Which is what I need for both of these, both configure database. Well, I need services and that. Right, I don't have services here. I do have it up there. I could stash a copy of it. Right? Right, if I stashed a copy of it, that's not too bad. Right? iService collection. Right, I could save a copy of that. And then, wait a sec. You mean we add some sort of an action here so that it knows how to call it. So we're going to pass in. Oh no. I'll have all of those things outside of it. I don't need this. Here we go. Watch this. Watch this. iService collection. Application builder. Configuration. Configure. After configuration method. I don't know. After configuration. So then what we do, put that, let's put that somewhere. After configuration equals this. Let's do a control dot over here, generate that field. So then down here, when it changes, after configuration, and we're going to pass into it, I got to have the things. I've got to have the things. Do I need the iConfiguration there since the method already has it? Well, the action is receiving those things. I'm passing it into that method. So I do need it. Right, I can make the decision here, but I don't have it. I don't have all those things. I could add them into is first start complete, but this is kind of a delegate here. Right, use when, yeah, it's a func that takes an HTTP context that returns a Boolean. Yeah. So I could also have this set a switch that says run first, run after configuration. Right, I could do something like this just to get this running, and then we could figure out a more elegant way to do it. So use when, right? In which case I don't. Right, so app use when, I could say app.run. Runs a terminal. I don't want to do that. App. Use when. Ha-ha! Yeah. Yeah. Yes. All right, so my function is going to be after configuration, and then I'm going to pass in service collection, which is, well, I have it, right? Right? I'm on fire today? Who is? What do we got? Finally got to catch a stream. Hey, Bardaki. Been watching a bunch of the archive. Oh, I'm glad you enjoy it. Thursday nights are like 4 hours long. Ooh. Yeah, let me know who that is. I do need to save that services collection, don't I? Don't need... Yeah, I need the services. I do need the services. I do need the services. Save that off. So I've got a copy of it. After configuration. All right, so I'm going to pass in services, the application builder, and configuration. Return true. Oh, wait a sec. No. Wait. I have that backwards. After configuration. Like that. This is getting to be a mess. No, not the method. Run after configuration. That's it. There we go. And then the action to run configures a branch to take. So I'm not actually going to configure a branch. Right? I will run after configuration and I'll pass in services, the app. And I can't use app like that because I've already got an app. And then the configuration. And now it should run it then. Not sure if everyone is copying JavaScript. Either way, I can actually read this. Fat arrows came first, actually. They came in 2008. Yes, Robert Tables. And you'll hear my colleague call it the Anders operator after Anders Heilsberg. But yeah, a lot of folks are using that same type of approach. So this should only run that after configuration method once it knows that, yes, first start is completed. So what I could do after this configuration, and I'm going to get rid of the configured database here. So I'm going to have 3 arguments that were being passed in. Let's call it services, app. I can't use app. This app. Can't call it services either, can I? No, hang on. We'll get this. And config, and this is I'll just move that down there, and I will grab this one. I'm going to comment it out just so I remember that it was from up there. So this should be this app configured database, services configured database. And that should do the thing. Yep, JavaScript folks call it fat arrows as opposed to the just regular arrow in other languages that you might see in like C++. It is actually read complex. If you actually can read complex JavaScript, almost every other language is easy to read. One seeds and the other doesn't. Actually, no, Tiago. Yes, the one seeds. This one seeds the database. This one configures the various connections and services and configuration. In, yes, Rambling Geek, in C#, we call this a lambda. This is declaring an anonymous function, a delegate, an anonymous delegate that we're going to call back at some future point. But you can do the same thing in JavaScript. All right, let's give this a try, see what happens, and let's see if we didn't break anything. So, to start, in app settings, right now we do not have a data provider defined. So we should be forced into a first start configuration. And then I hope you stick around. In about a half an hour, we're gonna raid NoopCat. All right? And hopefully she smiles a bit when we go crashing into there with 80-some folks. Rawr! We were saying, it's funny, we were having a discussion at TwitchCon. We were saying, you know what, because we stream first thing in the morning, there's not a lot of folks that raid us. You know, the whole raid thing that happens. So look at this. It's already doing use first start configuration, right? It is dropping into this, which means if I walk back up the call stack, and Visual Studio gives me the ability to see the call stack, right? It's deciding to call this because run after configuration, it's interesting. It's calling it even though it's not. That doesn't feel right. So I think we got something wrong there. Yeah, so that ran. Let's back up and take another look at it. And I see the comment there in the chat room. The second configured database method should be renamed to indicate that it seeds the database. A very good point. You know what? Let's make that change while we're here. This one, instead of configure database and actually seeding the data, let's call this. Can we call this initialize? Let's call this initialize data. Is that better, Tiago and Stelzy? Do you think that name works a little bit better for us? I'm gonna pause for a second just to make sure lag comes up. So much better. Okay. I can run with that. That works for me. So we'll do that rename there. And let's actually put a comment with that. Initialize the database with content and appropriate schema. Actually, let's change that around. With appropriate schema and content. So that it's a little bit clearer to see that. And when I go back over to my startup method, it renamed it appropriately there, and I've got a little comment to, as you're saying, make it clearer. You're absolutely right, Stelzy. I think that's the right thing to do.
Wow.
And you know what? We did it. All right. I don't code for a living. This is a poor hobby. Always playing catch up. You know what? Folks have watched some of not just my streams, but Suze's streams, Dev Chatter streams, Mark Miller's streams over there on Code Rushed. And they've learned enough that they've been able to change jobs, get into software development. And that's always tremendously encouraging to hear, you know. And I'm happy for anybody that is able to make a life change like that and grow into something that makes them happier. Makes them happier, gets them better pay, changes their living situation for the best. I'm always happy to encourage folks and to help you do that. Leviani, thanks so much for using your Twitch Prime here with us. Thanks so much. We'll make a donation to Girl Develop It so that those folks can learn how to code just like we are here. I forgot to turn on Karnak. You're right, Bardaki. Love the whole comment feature in Visual Studio. Now I just need to make more comments. Yeah. Don't we all face that same problem? I've looked, but I would need to take a pay cut initially. Can't afford to. No, I don't blame you. If you have to take a pay cut to get into it, don't do it. Don't do it. So why am I getting, when I look at this, right? Use when creates a branch in the request pipeline that is rejoined to the main pipeline. So let's do this. So that first predicate, come on. Invoked with the request environment to determine if the branch should be taken. Okay. And then the second one configures a branch to take. Okay. So I think we don't want to call this yet, right? I think we want to still check it if run after configuration, because it's going to run it each time. Did escape the room with coworkers on Friday. We failed to escape and they played sad tuba. Sorry to hear that, President. Not sure. You've been trapped in the mummy's tomb now forever, or something like that. Right? It's always the mummy's tomb, the bank vault, the creepy, whatever, right? The creepy house that you're trying to. You would take a big pay cut to move into software dev. If you have the flexibility to change jobs like that, terrific. If you don't, I can understand why that might be a bit of a challenge. So that did properly escape and not get into it. All right, so let's fill this out. Sure, okay. I'll choose a database. You know what? I won't even choose it. Let's see what it does. Nothing. It does nothing. Good day, sir. Rats. Submit. Did it do something? It looks like it tried to do something. It did a get. Oh, no. It did a post and then returned to the same page. Why am I not getting... Ooh, look at all this. We got a problem. Ooh, we got a problem. Developer exception page middleware. An unhandled exception. Error constructing handler for the request of blah, 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 blah. Right. It doesn't have those objects yet. Register your handlers with the container. Right. Okay. So what's happening is it's trying to redirect. Catch you later, Jay Rosegard. Thanks so much. Thanks for dropping in. You would do it in a heartbeat, mortgage to pay, and boy to take care of. Yeah. Yeah. Save the clock tower, President. Not sure. Save the clock tower. So this doesn't know how to do the redirect. However, it's also not calling. Ooh. Did my app settings get updated properly? Look at that. All right. So I think we need to make... Let's stop this. I'm going to get rid of this. And I think we need to make the user configuration this. No. First start configuration. Connection string does not need to be required. And it should submit and route through for me. But I'm still not seeing it hit this. Right? Configures a branch to take. Yeah. It's like I want not a run when. Adds terminal middleware delegate. Yeah. Use when conditionally creates a branch in the request pipeline that is rejoined to the main pipeline. But right, use when it's not actually right, it's not actually doing this. A controls engineer tried to switch but didn't get any bytes. Oh man. Even in middleware, we're using Git branching and such. Yes, of course. Well, not Git, but branching, yes. Why am I not? Right, I expect this. Well, let's see if we can, what we get triggered here. Let's try this again. One little Python toy you wrote last year. Well, I tried, hey Chris, I tried MapWhen, and MapWhen really is trying to jump off into and leave completely on it. I don't want to leave and go completely on a different branch. I'm going to stay on the same branch here. So I don't want to run this. That's fine. So now it's checking again, return false. Good. Yep, return false. Yep. Still return false. Okay. All right, so now I'm over on my configuration. So I'll put this. Who cares? I don't mind. SQLite, and I should be able to submit and get it through. So I'm still on false. There's my app settings, right? And it's reloaded with SQLite and the default data source. Good. That's what I wanted. So now run after configuration is still false. Where what's the request context? Right, can I get the request context? If I let that through now, it's still false. Still false. Yeah, and I'm toast at this point because it didn't actually get flipped to true. Do you have a blog too? Yeah, there's my blog. Sorry about that, Gareth. Sorry. Would it be worth having the bot ignore questions directly to other users? That's not a bad idea, Gareth. If a question is started with somebody else's nick, that's not a bad idea. %45 certainty, that didn't match at all. All right. I'm not sure why that run after config didn't flip. Right? This. Right? I should see that happen. Burgability. Hey, hello. Welcome. People start with the streamer's name to ask questions, so you'd have to filter them out. Yeah, maybe. Let's stop it. Let's try this again so we can see. Right, we should see this flip in here after we do the configuration. So I'm going to go back into this, delete that so I can force it to reconfigure. Hey, Burgability, we're writing some code today to configure our little content management system that we call CoreWiki. See if we can put in that first start configuration that folks expect when you first deploy a web application to start up and help give people a good first experience to get their application configured. All right, so run start, it's still false. There's my app settings, it's updated. Oh, you know what? Is first start complete is going to happen next. Watch. There it is. Now run after configuration is true. So I've got an order of operations thing that's happening here. Now run after configuration is true. And actually, it never executed this second block again. It executed, right? It's doing this check every time. And it's like this configuration bit down here doesn't do anything. Hey, Hourhawk, good to see you. Burgability, it may come as a surprise, but I've done this before, this stream. Let's see. I should have gone into nursing. Nurses don't have to write blogs to get a job. No. You don't need to write blogs to get a job. But what folks do look for, though, is some code that you've already written, right? And open source code is an interesting way to kind of see how folks interact with a team, how they contribute code, how they structure their code. So looking at somebody's GitHub repository and sharing that with a potential employer is a nice way to effectively give a code resume to a potential employer. Do I keep pushing out the date for the Rainbow Beard Challenge? No, we're locked in on this one. Our friend Richard Campbell talked me into December 1st and doing something for Dev Intersection Conference. So that's where we're going. But because I put the kibosh on it for Ignite, Mizael 198, thanks so much for the follow. But that's what we're looking at now. And besides, we're going to get to 5,000. Everyone comes in and asks the same thing. Yeah. Yep, a lot of people do. You're right. I think I have my use when configured wrong here. I think I want to put this in here. Oh, I can't do anything while I'm in debug mode. Stop that. Let's put this in here. No. That. Here. Right? So if run after configuration, do this thing. And I need to return something. I need to return in a... Right? So let's just return false. And not have it do anything at all down here. What do you think? But I think I need to bring this down. Here. Let's see if that does it. I think that gets us a little bit closer. Let's see here. Merry Christmas? You're a little early there, Hourhawk. Wait, I see Illuminati confirmed. Really? What did Corbob... What? What did I miss? Yeah, one will bite soon. Absolutely. Venting frustration. I completely understand, Wiremouse. Don't be afraid of being frustrated. Good things will happen. Take your time, stay focused, and just it will happen for you. I'm sure of it. All right, so I'm going to put a break. Yeah. I'll put a break there too. All right, go. Okay, so now it's setting run after configuration true. Yes, app settings. Good. Yeah, good. If run after configuration, and it's true now. Which means also I need to set run after configuration as false after it actually runs. So let's do this. Okay, so I should have services. Yes. I should have config. Yes. But does my... I don't care about providers. Does my config actually have data provider set? It should have, because we got a new context. Yes! Yes! So, if I let that run, object not... Oh, no. It doesn't have a database context. Why don't we have a database context? Why? Let's walk up the call stack. So seed data is being called on the service scope. And that's being called from within initialized data, which is being called here. Okay. Speech to text is not doing favors for whoever is providing that service. Yes. It's actually the Windows speech to text that comes with Windows 10. It's not actually a service. It's embedded inside of Windows 10. Got to duck out now. Good to see you, Chris Jones. Thanks so much for stopping in. Thanksgiving is a very U.S.-centric. It is. But then again, so is Canadian Thanksgiving. Who knew?
And then?
The music is from here. Yep. There you go. You love the stream music? Yeah. Music to flow by. There you go. You hate how C# is almost Java? No, that's not Java. No. No. I'm not sure why. Right? Services, configure database. Right? This should have registered all those providers for us. Right? Add repositories. This should have done the thing. All right. So there's two places there I need to go back in and change things up. Let's go back to here. Nope, wrong one. Use first start configuration. Not that one. It's in startup extensions. No, not that one either. I've got a different startup extensions. That one? There we go. And then I need to make sure after configuration equals false after I actually do the configuration. No. Run after configuration is false. There we go. All right, so I do have this properly launching now. But I need to figure out why it's not setting it. Meme idea? What do you got? Node.js is not a joke. It's a little bit... Folks have jumped right into it. But I do see some... I do see some issues with it. All right, let me go back into app settings. Let's reset this. And then when we hit that configure database, let's see if we can figure out why exactly it's dropping off. Because something's happening in there that is losing our content. Okay, that's fine. Let's do this. Yep, sure. All right, so now it's trying to configure the database, and config does have a data provider. Good. You know what? I need to restart this. My connection to the chat room got disconnected here somehow. There we go. All right, so now it's going to configure the database. Step in here. All right, services, add repositories from config, right? And config does have SQLite. Good. Is it the wrong services? Is this a look at that, count 376. That's not imposed. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we got the connection string. Okay. Return services, which now has 554 in it. Dear Lord. All right, so now this app, initialize data, config. What did who use before JavaScript? When you say professional developers want JavaScript to die, be careful. That's not, no. I would disagree with that. There's a lot of folks that are professional developers, including folks who help build the Twitch platform, who love JavaScript. Application services create scope. Okay, so I've got a scope now. get service CoreWiki identity context. So it should get that. Right? So we have a scope. We're going to get a service the application DB context. It doesn't get that. We're in a different scope. I think we're in a different services. Because it's app application services. I think we're in the wrong one. I think we've confused it a bit. Right? Because we saved off a copy of the services up here and we got disconnected from it. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to remove that. Remove that. Instead of passing... Right? I have app here. Can I do app dot application services? Yeah. Right, which is iService provider. I've gone too far. If I change it to that, okay. Then when I'm back, not there. No, here. It's not going to be services configure, right? Because I'm receiving, I have service provider, not service collection. I need to go back and forth between these two. Anyone who knows would ask why I follow so many Microsoft employees and C# devs on Twitch and Twitter. Why not learn from all of them? Yeah, I agree. Hourhawk, what do you have there? And it once again, my bot didn't do it. Oh, that's sad. Let's see here. So, right, I need to go back and forth between... I need to have the right services to be configuring with here. Right, the service collection that it's configuring on. Right, if it services is the service provider... That returns an IEnumerable of type T. I don't want that. Okay, hang on. Services. If I create scope, not scope, scope dot service provider. Right, because service provider is an iService provider, right, and doesn't configure database. What's an iService collection? Yeah, I want a service collection. How do I get back there? Hey, Crows, thanks so much for gifting a sub to Bardaki. That's really cool of you to do. I'll match that and we'll make a donation to Girl Develop It. Hey Rio, we are working on a little content management system, and we're setting up this first start experience so that when you first install the application, it prompts you, hey, what database configuration do you want? What database provider do you want? And what's your admin user you're going to use to build out your application? And I'm just having a problem going back and forth, setting up and firing the database configuration once you come back in after the creation. So, very cool stuff. All right. Learned the other day it's pronounced no-op cat. Well, there's that, and other folks also pronounce it noop cat. And I've heard she likes both. So let's see here. Why? I need to get back to a service collection. How do I get back to a service collection from a service provider? Let's go over here. iService collection from iService provider. I need to figure out how to get an instance of iService provider. Right, it's well, I need an iService collection. Ooh. New dependency injection service collection. Well, that's terrible. That's not what I want. Can I just request an iService collection? No. Not what I'm looking for. Little do the subscribers know I was the one that made your coffee mugs. Yeah, that's right. He was. Laced them all. I need an iService collection. Yeah, how do we do this? There's no singleton instance. You can create as many different service providers as you like. You can inject the iService provider into any class. Yeah, but I want to get the service collection. And wow, you got some spelling issues there, champ. Here. Yeah, I want to build the service collection. I want to continue building onto the service collection class. Add to iService collection. Adding extension method, service collection class. Adding iService collection in configure. Add singleton. I got to be able to create an iService collection here, right? Right? So if I create the scope. Right, the services is an iService provider. So I've created the scope. And if I say var service collection, can I say scope.get scope service provider get service iService collection? Can I do that? And then say service collection. That way I've got the right instance of it. And I think that scope needs to be disposed. Yeah. I think, will that work? Will that give me the thing? Is it in a property already? No, it's not. It did start out as no opcat. It did. I'd like to request one iService collection, please. Can I have 50,000 marbles? I'm looking. That's not a service collection. That's a coin. All right. Let's see if this works. App settings. Clear out that thing. I'm not going to lie, but coding while watching you code is fun. Hey, cool. I'm glad you're enjoying that, Bardaki. All right. I don't need that anymore because I know we're doing that. That thing works. And there's my first start, so we'll do this. I don't care. Sure. Whatever. Go. All right. App settings, JSON reloaded, and now we're down here. Is service... Now, service collection is null. I can't get iService collection after the fact. Rats. Is this the first Sunday stream? It is. Twitch cheering broke again. What? There should have been a message that popped up there. Checkers is continuing the gift sub they got from Pac-Man Jr. Fantastic. Am I going to be partnered soon? I don't know. Hey, Ancient Coder, it's great to see you. Yeah, Woot is right, Pac-Man Jr. But we're going to raid We're going to raid Noopcat when she comes online here in just a little bit. Let me see. Let's see if we can catch her tweeting that she's about to go live. We're going to sneak up behind her and raid. Nope. Don't see anything yet. So I can't get that service collection. How can I get a service collection later on in the process? Right, I want to register stuff later. I don't want to register additional dependency injection. Dependency injection, logging, and configuration. You did get a notification that her stream started? Let's take a quick peek. Hey, Moz, thanks so much for that kind cheer. Yes, we will match and make a donation to Girl Develop It. And what I'm going to do right now, because I'm working in this method, so we're doing a promotion called Bits for Bytes. I'm working right here. We're trying to figure this out. I'm going to put Moz's cheer right now, right here. Moz TS2005 cheered 500 bits on November 4. Do I have that right? 4? Thanks so much for that. Internet connection just died. You can't cheer. Hourhawk. Looks like she hasn't. I don't know if she started yet. I can't tell. Oh, yeah, she has. All right, here's what I'm going to do. No, you shouldn't have to email Twitch. That's a terrible thing. I need to do some research and figure out why we can get this, how we can get this to run. What I'm going to do, because I think we're really close to getting that database reload, I am going to commit these changes. There we go. Not got. Git, commit, started reloading database configuration. We're almost there. Because that'll be really cool now. Oh, Shmuley, we're about to raid over there. There we go. I'm going to push those changes. I'll be back on Tuesday, and we're going to archive off this video so that it's available to folks over on YouTube. But I think we've gotten pretty far here. I'm pretty happy with what we've got running. Wait, what? Hey, S&B, don't go offline. No, I'm not going to go offline. Election Day C# stream. Yes. You'll miss me. Oh. Well, actually, we're going to raid our friend Noopcat and surprise her with all of us going over to her stream at the same time. So I've updated. All this code is now available on our GitHub repository. I'm going to do a little bit of research and figure out how we can get that service collection, how we can continue adding things to the service collection later on in the process. Am I going to vote? Yes, of course I will vote. Tuesday is voting day here in Pennsylvania. I'll be at my local voting place. First thing in the morning, I'll vote and hopefully have a I voted sticker here to show off. Change the scope to using. Yeah, we should do that. Sure, we can do that. How's it going to be a surprise? You literally advertised it on Twitter. I don't think she saw my tweets. So, see you all over there? Yes, absolutely. So, let's kick off that raid. All you have to do is stick around, and you'll head over there all at once. If you don't get the sticker, did you really vote? I know, right? So we'll see you over there on the other stream. It was a lot of fun here this morning. We might do more on Sunday mornings. We'll see. Thanks so much, and catch you over there. Take care.